before I go any further, ladies and gentlemen, can I request that we all just take a stand and observe a moment of silence, please, in honor of our recently departed board member, Ms. Masango. May your soul rest in peace. Thank you very much. We can take a seat. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, allow me to first start by introducing our board as well as the executive of uMngeni-Uthukela. We have the board chairperson, Advocate Vusi Kuzwayo. We have the deputy chairperson of the board, Ms. Mkize. We have board members, Mr. Mtolo, Mr. Mkize, Mr. Konish, Mr. Shandu, Ms. Mvubu, Advocate Gopal, Ms. Mhlongo, and Ms. Orzek. And in absentia, we have Advocate Mshengu. That's the first table to my right, in case you need to acquaint yourself with the board members. And the second table is comprised of our chief executive and executive management. With those few words, ladies and gentlemen, can I get straight to the program in welcoming you all? I can just also mention that on your tables are the annual report summaries and the media presentation, which will guide us. We've done this before. We will have presentations from the board chairperson, who will really give us a message of overview, followed by financial performance results by Group Chief Financial Officer, and our planned infrastructure projects by the Chief Operating Officer. And we will also have a presentation by the Chief Executive on our highlights organizationally, and then we'll go to the question and answer sessions. Can I now invite onto the stage Advocate Vusi Kuzwayo to give us his message from the board? Thank you.
Morning, everyone. I think everyone is welcome. I wouldn't want to repeat what Usiyabonga has informed us. Indeed, we lost a board member, Ms. Masango. I think she would have been here. She had a bit of noise. You would have heard some noise. Hence, we will remember her for those smaller things that I think she was good with. But we're not crying. We're saying probably her journey had come to an end on the day she passed away. Ours is yet to come. There is a funeral this coming Saturday. It's in Nongoma, so that we don't get to forget to mention that the funeral is on this Saturday in Wanongoma. I think as board members and the people she worked with, we would make our way, those who would manage to go. I think I must indicate thank you, Mr. Program Director. I think my fellow board members, it's a day that was chosen for this event. Unfortunately, passing on of one of us almost had to destabilize us in such a way, but we then said this is also important. We came in as a board, and we came and stood in front of, I think I see some faces, we stood in front of them, and we were at a stage where we had an entity organization that was undergoing a reconfiguration. We were an entity that had acting, it's like it was a bit of Hollywood. There were many acting people in positions, which by design, it doesn't give you a stability. So I can indicate and report that we indeed, as a board, working with the executives that we found in the organization, we appointed a CEO, Mr. Mkhize. Hence, you see and hear less of me because I'm not a semi-CE. So we have a fully functional CE. We, as a board, we also had to fill positions of the Chief Operating Officer, which is occupied by Mr. Mazibugo. We also had to look at how can we do things differently. You'll always be aware that in the main, in government-owned entities, issues really haunts us on compliance. Issues haunts us on procurement. So as a board, I think the collective wisdom created the position of a chief procurement officer. The reason is a very obvious one. The chief procurement officer then gets the responsibility of really dealing and ensuring that everything that we procure, everything that we do with our service providers, they are done in line with our policy, in line with the South African Constitution. Therefore, that position would give us, I think, that added advantage, which will assist, I think, us in terms of the governance, because if you are in an organization where there aren't correct pillars or correct foundations, you'll find ourselves wanting. You'll find ourselves chasing operational decisions, which in law and by design, they're meant for management executive and not for board members. Us is oversight, us is to support them, us is to ensure that where they're weak, we come in, but we don't do their work. We also have a position of executive infrastructure development. It's a position, as its title really says, infrastructure development. So, the CFO will share with us and the COO the nature of the projects that we have and the nature of the budget that we have for our infrastructure. And once one hints on that, I think as a board, we must indicate also that we've come through an era where there has been water challenges. So whether you call it crisis, whether you call it water shortages, the reality is that is there. So as a board, we deal with potable water. So we don't deal with reticulation, which really leads water to the pipes and all that. But we are going to a strategy session, I think, last week of February, because we are saying to ourselves, we have a subsidiary, which is uMngeni Water Services, which as a board we must push to go into where these pipes are, go into reticulation. So that is strategy that we will be really embarking upon, because we do have an obligation to cover the province wall to wall. So if we cover the province wall to wall, the dams are not wall to wall dams. So it means we've got to go in and collaborate with the municipalities to ensure that we play right, we play a beneficial role, we also benefit our customers. Because if we were to enter into these sensible collaborations with the municipalities, where we would invest into infrastructure, and the municipalities would come on board, and water would be paid for, collected, and then we would, at the end of the day, be looking at a business model that says, we have this municipality in this district that we're working with. How can we ensure that the tariff does not go higher. So it's all based on those kind of we call it collaborations because it's a simpler term to use, but it's all contractual related. There's a model which is being pioneered by Water, which is a special purpose vehicle, where the water board is collaborating with the municipality to then ensure that we invest, and then we would then put our effort together. And if, for instance, if there's a debt, we ring fence the debt, and then as we progress with the project, we will find that the debt gets paid, reduced, and we might find the municipality drawing some revenue from the very same project and water services that the municipality is responsible for. But again, it's a territory that we are approaching. We're not claiming that municipalities ought to do it, but we're saying through collaboration, through finding one another, because the common problem is that a resident does not know whether it is uMngeni-Uthukela or it is a municipality. And we can't come to these platforms and begin to say, no, it is not us, it is them. People want water. They don't want excuses. So I think those are the kind of really the new approaches that we would, as a board, be engaging upon. I think as a collective, we come together first, we see and have a strategy, and then we have an able executive who will then ensure that it is then operationalized, and then where we need to play a role in engaging with the mayors, we will do that, we open to that. The other area which I can indicate, which I think is also of very critical importance, is that one area that as a board we're pushing the executive is water security. We all talk about lower Mkomas, upper Mkomas, but I want to indicate that those projects are projects for water security. So that when those projects are fully completed, we all know how much water is available, and if there is going to be water shortages, which again is science-driven. But where we are now is that we've got projects that were conceptualized in 2014, were never really put into operation. That's the gap that we and the department are pushing to ensure that we do those projects. Those projects will then provide water security. We, as an institution, really, uMngeni-Uthukela is reconfigured. uMngeni-Uthukela, I think the CE will share you more on those nitty-gritties. But from our side, I think as a board, we do believe that we inherited an organization that was sound. We can't lie. I said that before. We can't lie and say because there was an investigation, therefore the organization wasn't sound. There will always be those odd ones, especially when you deal with projects not of 40,000, projects of billions. Hence, we are saying we don't want to have a chapter in this organization where there's an investigation, and that investigation is unearthing things that we ought to have avoided. We ought to have ensured that they do not materialize. I think from my side, with those words, we welcome everyone. We're saying we are here. I'm going to allow, I think I've got the CE, CFO, and the COO, who will then be giving you more on what are the results, where are we with the results, and what is planned in ensuring that we don't go back, we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Board Chairperson, Advocate Kuzwayo, for really laying out the scene of what we can expect today going forward. The key takeaways for me are the operational excellence element, the adherence to sound ethical governance prescripts, and really taking the bullet out of the proverbial gun, Chair, of some of the questions that the media colleagues were already asking me insofar as providing the clarities of where our role starts and ends as uMngeni-Uthukela water, insofar as bulk water reticulation is concerned. Not to say that we will not work with municipalities, we do, but the key word being collaboration. Can I now call upon the Chief Executive, Mr. Sandile Psychology Mkhize, to give us our organizational performance overview and highlights?
Greetings to the chairperson of the board members, esteemed guests, members of the media, colleagues. I'm standing here to give you the overview of the performance of the organization, uMngeni-Uthukela Water, over the financial year 2023-2024 financial year. We are giving this overview, noting that the year 2023-2024 was the first year where we operated as uMngeni-Uthukela Water after the amalgamation of the erstwhile uMhlathuze Water and the then uMngeni Water to form this new entity, which is uMngeni-Uthukela Water. So these results that we are sharing with you today are the results where we are starting to operate for the first time as a unified entity that is combining the two entities into one. I would like to contextualize my discussion on the basis of the legislative mandate to say where do we derive our mandate as uMngeni-Uthukela Water. We derive our mandate mainly from the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, Section 24 of the Bill of Rights and Section 27 of the Bill of Rights, which then is distilled into a Water Services Act, which is the act that gives us the mandate as a water board, and the National Water Act, which is the act that gives us the mandate in terms of water resources management in South Africa. We are also structured as an organization in accordance with the Public Finance Management Act as a national government business enterprise, which means that as an entity, we as a Schedule 3B state-owned enterprise, we are not receiving any financial allocations from the fiscus. We are expected that we must be self-sustaining, we must generate our own revenue, and we must generate enough so that we can be able to invest in the upkeep of the existing infrastructure and the upgrade of the infrastructure so that we can be able to meet and exceed the demand that we face. As an organization, we report to the Minister of Water and Sanitation, who is the executive authority, and the minister then reports to the Parliament through the Portfolio Committee, which conducts oversight of all the water boards. As an entity, we, as at 30 June 2024, we had 1,800 employees, of which 1,400 were employees of uMngeni-Uthukela Water, and then 143 were those of uMsinsi, which is our subsidiary. I must say that we have two subsidiaries as uMngeni-Uthukela Water, which have their own boards. They are operating as autonomous subsidiaries. We have uMsinsi Holdings, and we have uMngeni Water Services. And these entities, they operate and report to the board, where uMngeni-Uthukela board is the main shareholder in these entities. We have 5 divisions. My apologies for the 4 there before the 5. It should be a 5. We have 5 divisions within uMngeni-Uthukela Water. There is a division of the chief executive. We have the finance, we have the operations, we have the shared services, and then we have the recently created division, which is the procurement division. The chairperson spoke about the filling of the positions that the board has embarked upon after the integration of the two entities, in line with us making sure that we are able to run the entity the way it's supposed to be and respond to the challenges that we are facing. We had created that division, which is now chaired by the chief procurement officer, who has just been appointed in the role. So we have a full complement of executives now in the organization. What is our vision? Where do we see ourselves as uMngeni-Uthukela Water? We want to look at ourselves as a leader in sustainable water services in the developing world. So we are not only looking at KwaZulu-Natal, where it's our area that is promulgated, but we are saying we have an opportunity to expand and look at other areas that are developing outside of South Africa, where we can be able to provide services, even inside South Africa, where there is no other water board that has a capability to provide such services. And our mission basically is to create value for our customers. We want to provide water services that is of right quality and quantity, with acceptable reliability and affordability, which is key for us, and to support sustainable economic development in the area of KwaZulu-Natal, which is our area of operation as promulgated in the Gazette. If you look at the area that we are operating, KwaZulu-Natal, it's a 94,000, just over 94,000 square kilometers. We had a population of 12.4 million. This was the last statistics that we had. I'm sure this number has now since grown. We have 54 municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal, of which 14 of these municipalities are Water Services Authority. That means these are the municipalities that have been given a legislative mandate or function to provide water and sanitation services. Of those 14, we have 1 which is a metro, we have 10 district municipalities, and we have 3 local municipalities which are Water Services Authority, which is something that is not common, because in terms of our legislation, it's metros and districts that have been given that mandate. But the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs has the right to confer that authority to any other competent municipality, local municipality. And in KZN, we have 3 of those municipalities which were deemed competent and were conferred that status of being Water Service Authority. If we look at the status of the governance of the organization, We have a fully fledged board which was appointed on the 1st of October 2023. So when we were starting the second quarter of the financial year, which is under consideration, that's when this board started and guided the organization towards the end of the financial year and the achievement of the results that we are presenting here. The chairperson has stated earlier that the CE, myself, I was appointed on the 1st of July 2024, and I've stated that all the executive positions are now completely full. We are working on filling the remaining position at levels below that of executives. And I believe that once we are done with that portion, we will be done with the major part of the integration of the two entities, which is the estuary uMhlathuze and the estuary uMngeni, which have become uMngeni-Uthukela water. When you look at the performance in terms of the governance of the organization, we have consistently achieved an unqualified audit opinion from the Auditor General of South Africa for a period of 5 years and above. We are well poised, working with the board and the executive to drive the organization towards achieving a clean audit. That is our dream, and this is what we are working hard towards achieving, and this board is supporting the management towards achieving that dream. So we are hoping that in the near future we'll be standing here and presenting to you that we have not just achieved an unqualified audit, but that we have achieved the highest echelon of performance in terms of governance, which is a clean audit opinion. I'm pleased to also announce and to tell you, colleagues, that as uMngeni-Uthukela water, we achieved a 96.2% performance against the shareholder compact. When you look at this performance, there are 7 water boards currently in the country, and all are guided by the similar shareholder compact, which gets approved by the shareholder, which is the Minister of Water and Sanitation. In the latest review of the performance of the water boards by the Minister of Water and Sanitation, it became evident that uMngeni-Uthukela water was the #1 performer water board out of the 7 water boards. I think we must give yourself a round of applause. Thank you. So we are willing and we are working hard to cap such high performance with a clean audit opinion. We treated 665 million cubic liters of potable water, and that water complied fully with the SANS 241 2015 water quality standards, which is the highest standard of water performance that we have in the country. We also achieved the throughput of the treatment of the wastewater in the country. And as you are aware that in eThekwini we had a situation where our beaches at some point had to be closed because of the non-compliant swimming conditions because of E. coli. With such a performance where we are able to increase the treatment of wastewater, we are avoiding such situations from recurring, and that also to give confidence to the visitors in the Durban and other areas that the beaches, if we continue to perform like this, will remain open and suitable for the bathers to enjoy themselves. When you look at the expenditure, the capital expenditure for the year in question, we spent 2.8 billion rand in capital infrastructure, And what is good with that expenditure is that 2.3 billion of that went directly into water and sanitation relevant infrastructure. So it's capex expenditure that went towards expanding or maintaining the existing infrastructure. 88% of the project milestones that we had for the capital expenditure were achieved. We would like to see this performance going to the 90th percentile and above. So we still have some leeway for us to be able to move towards achieving 90 and above in this milestone. As I've stated, we achieved an unqualified audit opinion from the Auditor General. If we look at the lowlights or things that we fell short of as an organization where we have put measures in place to address, we had an unplanned supply interruptions of 12.73 days, which affected 4 of the 19 supply systems. But I must put this into context. When you look at the norms and standards in South Africa, the norms and standards says that we can have up to 15 days of unplanned water supply interruptions. It's just that as uMngeni-Uthukela Water, we have set ourselves a stringent measure because we want to be consistently be able to supply water even way above the norms and standards for the water supply in South Africa. We had a less than desired turnaround time in some of the key internal processes, such as payment of suppliers within the required time of 30 days or when the invoices are due. We have also some internal audit findings, repeat findings, which we were not able to also clear in time, but we have put measures in place so that we can be able to deal with these internal processes. As one of the measures that I've spoken about is the creation of the division of the procurement, which is led by the Chief Procurement Officer. There was also a capital expenditure program, which is the rural development. We had one project which fell behind the schedule because of the delays that we had in the designs of the system. We were able to put measures in place to fast track the project, which is the uMshwathi Phase 4 project. And the project, we can safely say that during the end of Q2 in this current financial year, which was end of December 2024, the project is now at construction phase. It's moving towards us achieving the practical completion in the time that we had originally budgeted for it. When you look at our water that we are supplying to the communities, we want to look at how does the water look like. As I've stated that in terms of the SANS 241 2015 drinking water standard, we have consistently achieved the desired level, even above the desired level for the 5 years in a row, if you look from 2020 to 2024. So which means that uMngeni-Uthukela Water knows the business of water sanitation provision. And we are proving this as becoming in the manner in which we are performing as an organization. I've spoken about the infrastructure spend. You can see that over the past 7 years, there's been a gradual increase in the expenditure on capital infrastructure. The chairperson spoke about the infrastructure that we are embarking on, your Upper Umkomaas project, your Lower Umkomaas project, and the Lower Uthukela project. These are the projects that we are implementing to ensure that there's a water security for the KwaZulu-Natal province. And the uptick in the expenditure shows that we are moving aggressively towards meeting the demand and addressing the current water curtailment that is being experienced in the country because of the over-abstraction in the uMngeni water system. When you look at the capital development, you know that as uMngeni-Uthukela Water, we pride ourselves about our employees, and we say that that is the major asset that we have as an organization. We embarked on a 39 graduate development program in line with the program that is sponsored by the National Treasury, where we are getting the engineers to be registered as a professional engineers and professional technologists. 21 employees completed a supervisory development program, which makes them to be ready to occupy the position of management and senior management. We have 57 apprentices, we have 35 graduate trainees, 33 in-service trainees, and 31 interns. And all these are employees that we are giving them opportunity to be able to gain experience and the skills so that they can be competent and be ready to be absorbed by the industry at large. We have 525 process controllers that were trained in various water and wastewater treatment courses, and these are SAQA accredited courses, which then means that people, when they finish this qualification, they are competent and they are ready and they can use this qualification anywhere else to be able to apply for opportunities. We have 2 executives and 17 employees that were enrolled in the executive development program, which then means that we are serious about growing the talent pool within the organization for those who are ready to ascend into senior and executive management. When you look at the outlook of the organization to say, where do we see ourselves looking at the future? We can see that the water and sanitation landscape, it's filled with opportunities, but also there are threats that are there. So we need to then come up with judicious ways of or strategies to take these opportunities and also to put mitigation measures to address the threats that are there in the terrain that we are operating. We are saying, based on these results, uMngeni-Uthukela Water is well poised to be the partner of choice for any institution in the KwaZulu-Natal that is in the water and sanitation space. So we are ready and we are willing to partner with all the municipalities and the private sector in driving the water and sanitation mandate in the province. Together with our partners in the AUSISA, which is the Association of Water and Sanitation Institutions of South Africa, we are reimagining the water delivery mandate together with the Department of Water and Sanitation, where we need to focus on the delivery-oriented approach. At the moment, you find that as a water board, we provide bulk, but the municipalities need to take that bulk water and reticulate it. It's not a model that is working perfectly currently, and there is a need to relook at the model so that we can be able to say we have a custodian of water from cradle to grave, if I may put it using that term, from the abstraction in the dams and rivers up to the customer and up to the wastewater treatment system back into the water resources. As I've said, we remain the partner of choice to partner with in KwaZulu-Natal in terms of water and sanitation services. We are here. We would like also other institutions to engage with us. As I've stated, there are 8 water services authorities that we are providing water and sanitation services in the province. There remain also another 6 that are not served, but we need to put measures in place so that we can be able to serve them and ensure that there is a wall-to-wall supply of water and sanitation services. With those words, thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, CE. That was a mouthful. Members of the media, we will have an opportunity for Q&As and one-on-one interviews, particularly our television colleagues, so fear not. Can I now call upon the CFO, Mr. Tamim Kwanazi, to give us an overview of the financial performance?
Good morning. First, would like to recognize our board and the chairperson, as well as the deputy chairperson, fellow executives, and all our guests. I'm here to present the 2023-2024 financial results. I think the chairperson, as well as the CE, had actually emphasized the fact that for the first time, we are actually presenting these results as a combined entity where the former uMhlathuze and former uMngeni were combined. So when I present the results, just when you look at the growth in expenditures as well as revenue, just keep in mind that some of those significant jumps would have been caused by the merger. But we'll try and actually break it down so that we give a certain level of context. Obviously, the purpose I've just actually mentioned, and I've tried to then clarify on the indicators that we want to be looking into. uMngeni-Uthukela Water performed well against all of its financial performance targets. So the CEO did mention that we achieved 96% as an organization in totality, but on the one strategic objective, which is the improvement of financial sustainability, the organization managed to achieve 99.6% of that particular target. We, at a high level, our bulk water revenue increased by 19%. This was due to volume increases as well as an average bulk water tariff increase from last year of about 6%. The group's gross profits increased by 23% and from 3 billion rands to 3.7 billion rands. Operating profits also increased by 15% from 592 million in 2023 up to 679 million rands. And then the group surplus for the year ended 30 June also increased by 28%. This is from the 1.1 billion rands in 2023 up to 1.4 billion rands in 2024. Now, keep in mind, when we talk about the surplus, we do not, the shareholder is the Department of Water and Sanitation. So any surpluses that we actually generate, they get reinvested into our infrastructure program. I think I've touched on the operating profits. You know, our asset base increased by 24%. I will touch on the balance sheet. I think we'll just have a look at when I get to the next set of slides. But our property, plant and equipment also increased by 30%. This means that we actually were capitalizing a lot of the capital expenditure, and that actually is equivalent to about 2.9 billion rands for the group. And then obviously we had other operating and administrative expenses which increased by 24%, and we will get to the details. And at a high level, when we look at our income statement, as I said, our revenue jumped by 31% to 6.8 billion rands. And as I said, as I've said initially, a portion of it was actually because of the combination of former Mhlathuze and former uMngeni, but also there was an increase in the water volumes as well as the increase in tariff. Our cost of sales were up 43%. I think that 43% would also be the increase in usage of cost drivers like chemicals and maintenance, as well as the procurement of raw water to process so that we get to potable water. But I'll get to the detail of the 43% increase as well. Our gross profit percentage was slightly lower at 54% compared to the 58% in 2023. And I think it's mainly impacted by the cost drivers. I will show you how those actually have really impacted the organization. But jumping onto credit losses, we had credit losses in 2024 of 531 million compared to last year at 580 million. The credit losses are then provisions or debt provisions where we find some of our customers are unable to pay us on time, and then we have to then provide. So there was a slight reduction compared to the previous financial year. We are still holding quite a large amount of investments in our books, and thus this is because we are now starting to ramp up our capital expenditure programs. So with that, you will then pick up that our net finance income, which is interest, increased from 554 million in the previous financial year to 785 million rands in the current financial year. That then drove us to a profit before tax or a surplus. I like using surplus because profit is as if it's going to go to certain shareholders, but obviously it's a surplus and we then reinvest it. Now, getting a little bit into the details. So I did explain that we had an increase which had a mix. So if you look at it, on the kiloliters, the water that we sold to all the municipalities, there was 11.7% increase in the volumes. And obviously we then had a 6% tariff increase. The major players in the water volumes, as you will see, it's gonna be eThekwini, Metro, as well as uMsunduzi municipalities. So they become the drivers of our sales volumes. As you will see, we ended up having to sell about 648 million kiloliters for the year. Then touching on the cost of sales, as we said, they increased by 43%. I'll then maybe touch a little bit on the drivers of our cost of sales. The first one being chemicals. So there was a 47% increase on our chemicals in the current financial year, but this was driven mainly by an average price increase of about 8% of the chlorine and bentonite and lime. And obviously there was also an increase in the usage of the chemicals that actually came to about 21%. And as I had initially stated, the Richards Bay cost, this is former Mhlathuze, they also increased this amount by a further 22%. We are also managing eThekwini water services, wastewater plants, which also contributed to the increase because we had to actually treat the wastewater before it then goes into the sea. And then the next driver is energy. So energy is our electricity bill, where it also increased by 33%. And there was a tariff increase of 16%, which was levied by ESCOM. And then the inclusion of the Richards Bay costs also added another 18% to make up the total 33% for the financial year. Maintenance, they increased by 60%, and this shows such high external maintenance costs that we had to pick up, especially in the King Cetshwayo District Municipality area, where we've got quite a lot of the smaller schemes. We find that those smaller schemes, they require quite a lot of maintenance as compared to your bigger schemes that we have. But also, eThekwini wastewater contract contributed about 31 million rands, which impacted the increase as well as the growth from the Richards Bay area of about 11%. And then the direct staff costs, those are employees that are actually in the business, the core business of producing water. That particular cost increased by 25%. And it was mainly driven by like the bonus provision, as we've shown that the entity did achieve quite high. We then had to provide a bigger amount for the bonus because obviously you then have to remunerate the good performance that we'd actually shown. But obviously we also had issues of overtime, standard pay and other pay related increases. But keep in mind the combination as well. We had to take over staff from Richards Bay and combine them with uMngeni to become the one entity. And then if you look at the raw water, we do pay for raw water to the Department of Water and Sanitation. And the increase there was 16%. So the raw water over the prior year, there was a volume increase of about 8% for uMngeni system and 11% for the Hazelmere system. And then we had a tariff increase as well. So the Department of Water and Sanitation does charge us a tariff, and they do actually levy tariff increases. On the uMngeni system, it was 11%. On the lower Uthukela system, it was 12%, and on the Hazelmere, it was 8%. So all those actually contributed to the increase in costs, in raw water costs. And then we had other operating and admin costs, which actually went up by 53%. The major contributors of that 53% was one, on the staff costs. Obviously, we had to do the measure. And then the asset impairments of about 187 million. So we do have some schemes that we are building, but we normally do find that those schemes will not have a rate of return that will generate us future revenue and profitability. But from a social perspective, we still have to give people water. So those schemes, once we've picked up that the internal rate of return is not enough, we then impair a portion of those assets. That's the reason why we have asset impairment. And then the credit losses, I did explain that when municipalities don't pay us, we then have to provide for a bad debt or a debt write-off. And for the year, that contributed about 531 million rands. And then I did touch on the finance income, the growth of 42%, in that we are still actually holding quite a big chunk of investments, and they are actually then generating income of about 786 million rands for the year. And then I did touch on the profit. Obviously, everything culminates to the 26% growth in our surplus. And then just touching on the balance sheet as well as high-level capital expenditure, I did say that the assets, the asset base did grow by 24%, which was mainly driven by the increases in the investments on hand, but also there were additions from assets that were taken over from former uMhlathuze water. We also had property, plant and equipment, which increased by 30%, which is the 2.9 billion rands for the group. Accounts receivables also grew by 17.5%, and this is caused by obviously non-payments and late payments by our customers. This is just showing the 24% improvement in our balance sheet. Looking at the asset base, as we've stated, you look at the net position, it sits at a 4.2 billion rands improvement for the year. And then on the equity and liabilities side, you'll then pick up that obviously it also goes to 4.2 billion rands, but we show that our creditors did, actual accounts payables did increase from 942 million to 1.6 billion for the year. But on the same breath, our accumulated profits went up from 13.4 billion rands to 16.6 billion rands, which was a 3.2 billion rand movement in terms of that. Our long-term debt is staying a little bit stagnant. If you notice, we had 1.059 billion as our debt in 2023, and it's 1.039 billion, and that's because we've actually capitalized some of the borrowing costs. But I will get to the detail of the future, what actually we're looking at, because I think now with all our capital expenditure programs starting to take shape, we are going to actually get ourselves into spending what we've invested, but also going to the market to then borrow. I did mention the 2.9 billion, that was the budget for 2024. 2.9 billion was the budget in terms of the capital expenditure program. We then actually spent 2.8 billion of the 2.9 billion rands in the year. But I did put the 2025 program just to show that increase. I had actually explained that we are now projecting that we need to spend about 4.5 billion rands in the current financial year in that capital expenditure program. COO will actually come through and then maybe get to some of the details of those projects that we're going to be looking at. The infrastructure master plan gets updated annually, and it actually is supposed to then outline the future bulk infrastructure requirements of the group. I think the chairperson did mention the fact that we are planning to do a wall-to-wall service when it comes to bulk water supply in the province. And we want to be the only water board that actually supplies bulk water to all the customers. Now, we have a capital expenditure program over the next 5 years that is estimated at 19.8 billion rand, and that we have actually incorporated into our approved corporate plan for 2025. Some of the major projects that make up that 19.8 billion rands will be the Upper uMngeni project. I think it's been well spoken about. Currently, that project is sitting at detailed feasibility, and obviously its objective is to actually augment the supply, especially in the Tegwini and uMgungundlovu area. The estimated project cost is about 8.2 billion rands. COO will touch on the detail of some of these projects. Lower uMngeni water supply scheme, total project budget estimate is 6.1 billion rands. Lower Uthukela bulk water supply scheme phase 2, it's 1.4 billion rands. And then we've got Greater Mpofana bulk water supply scheme of 1 billion, as well as uMhlabachana sub-regional scheme phase 2 of about 852 million rands. Looking at our cash flows, so obviously cash is always king, and we would like to be in a position where we don't actually become short of our cash. We then just analyze how our movements in terms of the cash. If you look at the net cash from operating activities, that increased. So in the previous year, we had 1.8 billion rands worth of cash from operating activities. 2024, it was 2.3 billion. The net cash that was used in investing activities reduced from 2.2 billion rands down to 1.8 billion rands. And then net cash used in financing activities, as I've said, we don't have a lot of debt. So it was 146 million in the previous financial year. And 2024, it's 165 million rands. That then looks at the net cash and cash equivalents, where we were sitting at a minus 534 million in the previous year. And now we are at a positive 367 million, which then gives a net movement of about 900 million rands on those cash equivalents. So that is money in the bank that we've actually utilized for the period. We do have cash that sits in investments, which is then not analyzed in this cash flow statement, because cash flow has to look at what is in the bank, not sitting as investments. As we've stated, all surplus cash is invested in line with our investment policy, so that we can generate the maximum interest that we can whilst we wait to deliver on our projects. Just to also show where we are with regards to our gross debt and borrowings. So at the moment, we're sitting with R1 billion worth of loans. I think the one big one is the European Investment Bank loan of about 935 million rands. That loan is due to be repaid in 2026. We have been actually building the repayment during the years from last year, where we are actually setting aside amounts to make sure that they counter the redemption of that particular loan when it's actually due for payment. But that's probably gonna coincide with us actually going to the market to go borrow again, based on our capital expenditure program. But if you look at the 2024, National Treasury has approved us to borrow 3.3 billion rands. We are sitting at a borrowing of 1 billion. So we do actually have room to then go out and borrow of about 2 billion rands. Our debt to equity ratio, you'll notice that from 2020, we were sitting at 0.17. That has reduced to 0.05 because we have not been borrowing, because we've been sitting with cash in our investments. But I'm happy to say that all the loan covenants were actually met and they were not breached in the current financial year. I will then stop there and then maybe allow COO to then come through. Thank you.
Thank you, COO. I think the next and last presentation will be yours. When you are done, you can just shift to the table on my left and you will be joined by the preceding presenters as well.
Thank you, Program Director, and greetings to our board as led by the Chairperson and Deputy Chairperson. Greetings to management as led by the Chief Executive, our honorable guests, the media, and everyone in the house. I think that now that we have presented the results by the CE and the CFO, my presentation now is just going to give context and account on how the results have translated to service delivery. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the service delivery. I think I'm not going to touch on the constitutional mandate, but the main point is that the reason for our being is that we want to achieve some sections of the Constitution to make sure that everyone has access to water in the land, specifically in KwaZulu-Natal, where we are supposed to be operating. And whilst we do that, we want to ensure that the environment is sustainable, to make sure that it is preserved enough to to ensure future supply and therefore service delivery. We therefore have aligned ourselves with a few key strategic documents. As we can see, the National Development Plan is giving us only 5 years. It says that by 2030, we must have given all South Africans access to reliable, sustainable water. So we have 5 years. This is what the Sustainable Development Goals also talks to. But importantly, the National Development Plan also talks about financially sustainable government entity that we must be. So as we account, we must also bear that in mind so that we know why some of the activities may take a little bit longer than anticipated. I think to execute our mandate, we therefore align to our shareholder, which has a National Water and Sanitation Master Plan. Obviously, this comes from the National Water Resources Strategy, and we therefore using that and also working together with the provincial stakeholders, we have developed a very key document which we call the Universal Access Plan for the province. What this Universal Access Plan does is that it looks at the entire province for the achievement of wall-to-wall supply, from primary all the way to tertiary. So it looks at the existing infrastructure versus the population and the demands. And it looks at making sure that by 2050, everyone has water. And the basis for the document is water at yard connection, not your communal and the likes. So it's proper water, which is sustainable, that we can all be proud of. And therefore, this document was conducted. It means that uMngeni-Uthukela knows what must be done in the whole province of KwaZulu-Natal for every citizen to receive sustainable and reliable water, and also dignified sanitation. So as we account and give context to how the results have translated to service delivery, as an entity after reconfiguration, we covered only, I would term coastal water services authorities, the municipalities in the main, from down south going all the way up to King Cetshwayo, and then we have just some footprint in uMngeni-Uthukela. So this shows the existing footprint of our water infrastructure where we are supplying. And to your right, you will see that we were able to, on average for the reporting year, to produce just above 1,700 megaliters per day from all our systems. But if you look at the systems, we have a system that abstracts from uMngeni River. That system abstracted more than what we are licensed. And this is the reason why we are at a situation that is called curtailing, that started in October 2024. I will touch on that in the next slide. I just wanted to highlight it here. The reason is that we have taken more water than we should have. This is, of course, as a result of increasing demands in these regions. This supplies the uMsunduzi local municipality, eThekwini, and uMgungundlovu local district municipality. As we move on, so to correct the situation, to make sure that we don't run to a risk of non-supply in the near future, we needed to curtail, we needed to go back to the licensed volumes, because it is known that most water that goes supposed to go to consumers, not all of it goes there. In the province, we are in excess of 50% non-revenue water, if I may term it that way, and run away from water loss per se. So if we correct that, so the intention of the directive was so that we work together with the municipalities, the affected municipalities, to make sure that we develop plans of action that will make sure that no citizen will feel the impact of curtailment. So these were developed and submitted accordingly to the shareholder. There were deferments in the implementation starting date of the curtailment, because this was supposed to start in October 2023, but it ultimately started in October 2024 for eThekwini. So this means that over a period of 12 months, we must have reduced demands in eThekwini by about 100 megaliters per day. It's not 100 megaliters per day now, but when we get to end of September in this year, we must demonstrate that we are able to reduce by about 100 megaliters per day supply to eThekwini. Also in Umsunduzi and uMngeni-Uthukela, we are implementing the curtailment. Having said that, the supply system, our raw water supply system for the existing supply areas, we are happy to report that we are comfortable in terms of the raw water resources for the foreseeable future. Of course, this will have to be augmented at some point with our key infrastructure projects to make sure that beyond what these resources can give us, we will be able to supply to the future. So to just give context to some of them, the uMngeni system, of course, is the largest, which supplies most of our municipalities in the central and towards the coast. That system is at maximum in terms of what it can supply, and we will be augmenting the supply through the uMkomazi River system, the project I'm going to talk about. That project has delayed. I think our media colleagues are well aware that that project was supposed to start some few years back. So other systems, we are fairly comfortable. The Hazelmere system, which is a uMdloti system, that system was upgraded, the dam wall was upgraded and commissioned, and is now fully impounded. Throughout the year, we were not able to fill the dam to its capacity because there was work going on there. But now we have since received the impoundment license to fill the dam to its capacity. And then in the south, we have a Luteke dam that we are working on. The levels there are also kept at around 50% because there's work taking place there. So we have recently completed that, and we've since made the necessary applications so that we can fill the dam. And there's also work going on in the uMvujane dam. This is within the iLembe system. That work is also going to be completed in April. This will make sure that the North Coast system will have water, given that we are upgrading the plant in that system also. Now, looking at what must happen for everyone to have water in the regions that we currently supply. This is a summary of what must happen. In the medium term, what must happen is that for eThekwini and Uku to have sustainable water until the big project of uMkomazi comes online, we have a project in the lower part of uMkomazi, which we call Lower uMkomazi Bulk Water Supply Scheme. This will bring into the system 100 megaliters per day of water. So the originally anticipated completion date was end of 2026, but we have since encountered few delays in procuring one component, which is in the critical part. We are therefore looking at 2027. So what this will do is that we have started work. Some of the work packages are ongoing. We have a dam that we are constructing as we speak. We're calling it an off-channel storage dam in Ngwadini. This will store water during the summer months, and when required during winter months, we will be able to release water back to the river so we can abstract and treat at the waterworks somewhere around uMnini area. So this project, we are really looking forward to this project as it will bring some stability and assurance in the near future for the eThekwini and Uku district municipality. In iLembe, we are upgrading our Kwamaphumulo treatment plant from the current 6 megaliters per day to 12. and we are scheduled to start commissioning at the end of February. So we are looking forward to completing that project to deal with water challenges in Ilembe, specifically in KwaMaphumulo area. And KwaMaphumulo also, we have a secondary bulk project, which we call uMshwathi. The aim of this project is to integrate supply from uMngeni system to eLembeni, and also all the way from uMloti system, from the Hazelmere system, to supply the whole of Ilembe with water. So that by the time uMngeni project is completed, the secondary bulk systems are in place. This project is progressing well. Second component of this project will be commissioned in, I think in August. This is just one leg that takes water all the way to Montobela, but the rest of the project is going to go on procurement in the next 2 months. We are finalizing designs such that by the end of 2026, the uMshwathi project will be completed. So this will interconnect from KwaMaphumulo, Ndwedwe, and uMshwathi at the top. So these are the projects that are in the intermediate term. Also in Ilembe, we have in uThukela, a plant we call Lower Thukela. We are upgrading the plant from 55 megaliters per day to 110 megaliters per day. Designs have been finished. We are going to go out to procurement of the contractor to complete the rest. This will take water up Mandeni Way, and the feasibility study has indicated that we can even take it to either Richards Bay, or it will go inside to Eshowe, depending on the feasible option, and also depending on the recipient, as these are negotiated with the relevant municipalities. But another 55 megaliters of water will be made available. This will be a 2-year construction program. And then to assure supply in the north, we are completing a project that we call Tugela Hudetro Transfer Scheme. This is where we are taking water from uThukela River and we are augmenting uMhlathuze River. We are making sure that treatment systems that abstract from uMhlathuze River will have assurance of supply. This refers to our Nsezi water treatment plant in the Richards Bay, which has recently been upgraded, and we have just commissioned it to 260 megaliters per day. So we are comfortable because this transfer scheme, we are commissioning it also at the end of this month. So we will have assurance of raw water resources for the north, for the city of uMhlathuze. We know that city, there's also Richards Bay Industrial Development Zone. There are few projects which I will talk through also that are specific to industrial water as well. So we are comfortable that as the city grows, there will be no water issues. And then finally, in the summary plan, the uMngeni project, as we probably are mostly aware, is a project that is implemented by the Trans-Caledon Tunnel Authority, which TCTA in short, and ourselves. TCTA is implementing the raw water component of this project. What this project will do is that it will bring 600 megaliters per day of water into the system, which will assist 6 municipalities. This will be Herikwala, Uku, eThekwini, Ilembe, uMgungundlovu, and uMsunduzi. So this project says that beyond 2040, there should not be any reason for anyone to not have water in these regions that I've just highlighted. This will augment successfully the uMngeni River system such that everyone has water. So in total, if you look at that project plus the Lower uMngeni project and a couple of other intermediate projects, you are looking at around about just above 800 megaliters per day of water, of new water, that will be brought into the system to support human consumption and everything else that comes with it. Of course, the results have been presented, but just to give an account of what this money went to, some of the projects that we reached milestones on includes the pictures there at the dam in Guadini that I made reference to. This is the dam that we are building for the Lower Mkomazi, the 100 megaliters per day plant. And down there is the abstraction works, which is almost complete. What is left for this system is the implementation of the actual treatment plant, which we have finally made the award for. So we are looking forward to completing this project. And some of the highlights in the reporting year is the finalization of the flood-affected project of the aqueduct. There was one pipe that had not been fully commissioned. That was since commissioned during the financial year. And also, there was a request to inject new water in the eThekwini system in the outer west package plant we call Waklimba. The total is 7 megaliters per day, but in the financial year, the request was to make sure that 2 megaliters per day was made available. We successfully made that available on time. And also in the north, we were able to complete the upgrade of the Nzezi water treatment plant from 205, that is supposed to 260 megaliters per day. So those are some of the highlights of what this performance meant. In terms of the overall quality, we have to give an account of how we fared in terms of our water. So of all the water quality variables as per the SANS 241 to 2015, we did meet our target as an aggregate, and we are very happy that to say that our water is safe. And also from the wastewater side, the 11 treatment schemes that we operate, they were all compliant to the necessary authorities, be it general limits or special limits for the Department of Water and Sanitation. They all met the required targets. This means that they did not pollute. So we are very happy to report that we did not pollute. And whilst on this slide, we also did take some new work in eThekwini, where we took 10 of their wastewater treatment schemes to operate for a period of a year, which has since been extended by a further year. We are happy to report that during the December period, there were no beaches that were closed as a result. We were able to stabilize the infrastructure to a point that everyone was comfortably swimming. And we have since increased the green drop compliance from what we found at averaging 49% to now averaging 69% within a space of a year. We're very pleased with that performance. A highlight of that is one plant that we resuscitated from scratch, the uMngeni wastewater works. It's now able to treat sewage to acceptable standards. Now coming to what the CE spoke of. So how are we going to reach this wall-to-wall coverage? After we have been reconfigured, we now need to look ahead and see how we can achieve this wall-to-wall for the entire province of KwaZulu-Natal. So as I've stated, the key document that I said we have, the Universal Access Plan, details what must happen in all corners of the province. We do have that, and we are very confident of that document because it was done in collaboration with all relevant stakeholders, all municipalities, including COGTA. So it talks exactly to what must happen to achieve wall-to-wall coverage by 2050. So we have therefore configured ourselves as an entity to separate the operations into 4 clusters. We have the WSAs, which we already have a footprint. We are reinforcing, and to the WSAs where we don't have footprint, we are intending to penetrate. So we have therefore have the 4 clusters. We have the South cluster, obviously the Herikwala and Uku districts covers those, and we have the Central cluster, which mainly covers eThekwini, uMngeni-Uthukela, Ilembe, those that and uMsunduzi. We have the Northeast region cluster, which combines the King Cetshwayo District Municipality, to uMhlathuze Local Municipality, to Zululand, and uMngeni-Uthukela at the top. And then the last cluster, which we don't have a presence as yet, which we call the Northwest Cluster, which will have Amajuba, uMngeni-Uthukela. So this is how we are planning to penetrate. So in Uthukela and in uMngeni-Uthukela, we already have directives by the Minister of Water and Sanitation as per the Water Services Act, where we are supposed to negotiate with the municipalities and enhance the standard of water and wastewater infrastructure through the Section 63 directive. With that, it comes with operation and maintenance of the same schemes. So in the UKDM, which is uMngeni-Uthukela, we currently are implementing the resuscitation type of projects through this directive. We are not yet operating and maintaining the schemes. So we are just making sure that the schemes are at a level that they can produce as best as they can. And then as soon as we are finished with our negotiations with the municipality, we will be at a point where we can inject some capital and implement our projects as per the Universal Access Plan. So discussions are ongoing with that municipality as we speak. And also in Uthukela, this one is a recent one. We have done the necessary due diligences. We have completed that, presented to all stakeholders. We are at a point where we are now playing with the legalities of the documents, and we have given ourselves the target of end of February to pen down the agreement, the tripartite agreement. So this will be slightly different to uMngeni-Uthukela because it will give us direct access to the operation and maintenance plus the capital infrastructure that may be required. In the districts that we have not yet started anything, we have engaged all these districts to a point that we have partnered with them and resuscitated some of their dysfunctional schemes. We've done this in uMngeni-Uthukela, we've done this in Zululand, and we are in negotiations with Newcastle. We have met all of them. So this was just a penetration strategy so that they can see our worth and what we can do. So we are looking forward through various mechanisms to partner with the municipalities so we can cover the entire KZN in terms of footprint, and therefore we can account for the wall-to-wall coverage. So if we zoom into these clusters, this will be the Northeast cluster. I'm not going to go through it, but it just shows your King Cetshwayo footprint where we have treatment schemes. It shows your uMhlathuze scheme, and then there's one scheme in uMngeni-Uthukela, which is an O&M scheme. This is just showing the footprint, but what we are doing in this cluster in terms of infrastructure projects, I spoke about the Nsezi treatment scheme. So what we want by this scheme, by upgrading the scheme from 205 to 260 megaliters per day, we want to cover industries, we want to cover even up to uMngeni in terms of water supply. We cover the city of uMhlathuze. So the other projects, like these two projects, the clarified water project for the RBITS and the effluent pipeline, these will take from the same plant to ensure supply to industries. This is a very special plant. It supplies various industries as well in that region. So it's a cornerstone of the region. I spoke of the Uthukela transfer scheme, which takes water all the way from Uthukela to uMhlathuze River to augment that node system. The Mandlakazi bulk water supply scheme, this also is the latest directive. This is looking at Zululand and uMngeni-Uthukela. Here, what we want to do is to take water from the existing Mandlakazi water treatment plant. We take it to Big 5 Hlabisa. We also take it to uMkhuze. We also upgrade the secondary bulks so that even the hospitals and the surrounding communities will have water. Currently, we are finalizing the implementation agreement between ourselves and the two municipalities and the shareholder to execute this project. But we have started with the necessary design works and front loading of the work. If you move on to the next cluster, which is the central cluster. This is the big cluster for now, which supplies eThekwini, Mgungundlovu, Msunduzi, and Ilembe. It has most of our infrastructure. Some of the key projects that will revolutionize this region, we've spoken of the uMngeni water project, where we are implementing the potable water component of it, the treatment plant, the pipelines, and the reservoirs. We have started procurement for that. We are anticipating to start with the designs as early as June, following finalization of the procurement processes. But from the raw water component, the designs are already being implemented from TCTA side. Remember, this is on the critical path. The dam takes way longer, dam and tunnels takes way longer than the treatment plant. So our alignment with that, we are fairly comfortable. We are still aligned to have this water supplied by the end of 2032, as initially stated. And then we have spoken about uMngeni project. We also have some rural type of projects. The Vulindlela project is the Vulindlela, Maphumulo, and Mushwati. Those are rural types of projects. Vulindlela project, this one is a bit special because it was announced by the late President Nelson Mandela back in the 90s, in which the first phase was completed. And then when we commissioned the second phase, President Cyril Ramaphosa opened that phase, which we are commissioning in the next 2 months. We are finalizing the design for the last phase. So this will cover, it's an extension of bulk, it's a secondary bulk project, taking water from DV Hellis and Midma treatment plants to supply the rest of Msunduzi and some parts of Mgungundlovu. We spoke about the Maphumulo bulk water supply scheme. It's in twofold, the treatment plant, which we are commissioning end of this month, and we are starting the augmentation part of it of raw water, just to make sure that raw water will always be available for that system. So this is taking water from another river to the uMngeni Dam, Hlimbitwa to uMngeni. The Lower Uthukela is very key for the North Coast. We've spoken about that, to supply Stenga, Mandeni, and all the way to King Cetshwayo. Spoken about that. And Mshwati, I think I detailed that in my opening remarks. The South Cluster, we are looking at Uku and Herikwala. Here, we just want to make sure that raw water resources are available. We have 2 critical dams. In Herikwala, we have the Stephen Dlamini Dam that must be built. This dam, we are progressing very well. The designs were originally done by the municipality before handed over to ourselves. We have made the appointments for the PSP, and those reviews are going very well, with no significant findings on the design as yet, which means that at the end of April, we will be ready to go out for construction. Also, the Tswabeni off-channel storage dam in Uku from the uMzimkhulu system. There also, the designs are almost complete. We are looking at finishing the designs in the next 2 months and then going on to construction. These 2 dams, they did delay a bit. I think, as I said initially, that we must be a financially sustainable organization. When they were handed over to us, it took some time to finalize the implementation agreement and financial model, because these are directives to fund and implement. So we needed to finalize all those. So as soon as those were finalized, we were able to start and move ahead. So now it's all systems go. We are comfortably executing. And then we have a few secondary bulk type of projects in South Coast, Phase 2B and 3B. This is just to make sure that water supply all the way from the eThekwini system going into Uku district, there will be water even when the Upper Mkomazi project comes online. So these projects, we are comfortable with them. The Phase 2B is going to be commissioned in the next month. The South Coast Phase 3B is still in design, and when that is completed, we'll soon go to construction. And then the Northwest Cluster, I think, is the one that we spoke of. Currently, there are no projects here. The only project that we have here is the is a Section 63, which we are finalizing with all relevant stakeholders, including COGTA. We have meetings every week. We have set ourselves a target to complete this exercise by end of this month. We will then go into this region and make sure that we take care of all the water and wastewater infrastructure in terms of operation and maintenance. We will then be in a position to implement as per our universal access plan. We start with the detailed feasibility studies for the long-term type of projects, but for the low-hanging fruits type of projects, we have detailed those. We know what it will take. We have estimated about 500 million for both the water and wastewater infrastructure, just to stabilize the infrastructure to give water the way it should, and then we take it to the next level when those are done. So this will be approached parallel. I think with that, Chairperson, as I stated, I was not accounting on performance, I was just giving context. I think let me end it here, and thank you.
Thank you, COO, for that presentation. It brings us to the last of the formal presentations. Can I request the board chair, the CFO, as well as the CEO to join us on the table to the left? I think the presentations themselves were very succinct and to the point, but there is a possibility that there are questions that members of the media would like clarities on. So we will open the platform for that segment. As you ask the question, please state your name as well as the media house you represent and shoot with the question. We shall allocate about 15 minutes for this particular segment. And as we have said earlier, colleagues, we will have one-on-one interviews as well. And I may add that after this session later in the day, we will be joined by various stakeholders, including COGTA, as well as representations from the various municipalities. So in the event that you've got specific questions that you might like to pose to those parties that aren't here yet, you can join us for the later segment. I already see a hand from Tony Kani. So I'll take questions in batches of 3. I see you, Fraser, at the back. It's starting to look like an auction. It's okay, colleagues. So I note Fraser at the back, Tony in the front. Let's shoot with the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony Carney from Daily Maverick. I've got 2 questions. One concerns the water curtailment, water rationing issue for eThekwini. Mr. Mazibuka, you mentioned that there was a requirement to reduce consumption by 100 megalitres a day, and but it's not quite there yet, though it should be by September. Can you clarify where, as a percentage of normal use, eThekwini is sitting? Is it 5% or a 10% reduction? The second question has a number of parts, and it relates to uMngeni-Uthukela taking over 10 of the wastewater treatment works in eThekwini. And the first question is really just some context on why uMngeni-Uthukela was asked to take over those treatment works. What skills or specialist skills it brought that eThekwini lacked to remedy those problems. Now, it's been a year, but even though there's no bathing, beaches might not be banned. There is presently a ban on recreation and fishing in at the Blue Lagoon at the mouth of the river. And it raises a question. uMngeni-Uthukela has been there for a year at the northern wastewater treatment works, and yet there's still high levels of E. coli being found at the mouth. Is that, you also mentioned that the green drop score had increased from 50 to 70% for those 10 works. Can you be specific about what the the green drop compliance score is for the northern wastewater treatment works? Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Bata, yes, Fraser had a question.
Thank you, Ngiyabonga. Fraser Mjali from Pumelela Community Newspaper. The first question is, I do have a rough understanding of what wall-to-wall coverage means. But I would appreciate, Moelase, if this can be explained to me, what it means, so that I can be 100% sure that my interpretation is correct. Number two, Moelase also spoke about, among the things that he mentioned, spoke about increasing demand, plan of action, curtailing. I'm just mentioning these words, just to put my question in context. But now, when you look at the increasing demand and look at the projections for the future, all of this is determined by population growth, definitely. So now, how do you navigate the future going forward vis-a-vis the provision of water? If, as I think it is the case, if we don't know the number of people that come to our region, it's obvious. We know that thousands of people come to our region every year. And these figures are not documented anywhere, really, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I know for sure a lot of them are not documented. But when they come to the region, they require all the basic necessities, water, food, electricity, and stuff like that. How do you navigate that in planning the future provision of water in the region? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fraser. I think I get that. Can we have one more hand before we take questions? Okay, I'll take Usihle Mavuso in the front. I also note you, my good man. We might as well take you, but you can proceed since you have the mic.
Okay, I'm Sakesen Ngumalo from News 24. I just have two questions of clarity. The first one, there were made mentions that there are about 50% of water losses in the whole province. Maybe just to get a clarity on that in terms of what maybe the uMngeni-Uthukela is sort of doing to ensure that they sort of decrease that, because there's a huge amount of water being lost, and understanding that also affects in terms of revenue collection regarding that. And another one, I just want to find out the role that uMngeni-Uthukela played in terms of ensuring that they maintain the beach during the festive season open at all the time, because I understand they did mention that there was a certain role that you play in terms of ensuring that the beach will remain open, and you assist in terms of decreasing the E. coli, and that's where, and other spillages into the beach. So I found just explanation to that in terms of the role that you specifically play working together with eThekwini on that.
Thank you. Mavuso.
Yeah, good morning. I thought it was the afternoon. Sihle Mavuso. I'm a freelance journalist based here in Durban.
Mavuso, I don't think we can quite hear you. I'm not sure if it's the mic.
Yeah, no, it's fine. No. Right. Yeah, Sihle Mavuso. I'm a freelance journalist based here in Durban. I've got two questions, mainly after looking at your financials. They are quite good. If a JSE company, I would invest in, I'll buy shares in you, because your finances are in good shape. But then there are other questions that arises. I do understand that you have proposed to increase your tariffs by 13.5% with eThekwini, your bulk water tariff or supply. Why is that case, considering that you've already made a profit of over 2 billion in the past 2 years? And secondly, there's that issue of Waterloo and the northern part. That is, sorry about it. It's Tongati, Verelem, the northern part of Durban. They've been without water for almost 3 years now. And it has since emerged that uMngeni Water has taken a decision to divert water from Waterloo to Caesar Water in Palito. Now the question is, why have you decided to do that? If you look at the fact that in Palito there are about 3,000 or 4,000 people, and in Waterloo, Verelem, all those places, they've got about 1 million in terms of their population. why prioritize 4,000 people over 1 million people? Thank you.
Thank you. Can I hand over to the table in front to answer the questions that have been raised by the colleagues, and then we'll take a second round.
Thank you very much for the questions. I will start. Probably let me start with the curtailment. The curtailment as per the plan of action. The plan of action firstly says that this is what I will do to make sure that I go back to contracted volumes. So contracted volumes in twofold. One, the water board, which abstracts water from the catchment, has a contract with the regulator. So, and then the customer, in this case, the Water Services Authority, takes water from the water board and therefore another contract. So there are contracts. These are documented. So the plan of action was developed for the city specifically, by the city, with some input from ourselves, of course. It looked at things like reducing water losses from the system and the likes. So as a result, if you are going to reach about 108 megaliters per day after 12 months, this meant that the regulator needed to give the Water Service Authority sufficient time to achieve and implement these initiatives. So if I were to give you in percentage terms, from starting in October last year, we are at about 15%. But remember, there were also some challenges in the summer months in December, resulting to having to stop this curtailment for a few days, about a month, from I think around 25 December to 15 January. So this therefore meant that we needed to continue from where we had left off in terms of curtailing for the city. So to answer straight, we are about 15%. We are not yet at 100%. This is why the systems are still stable, because it is aligned to the plan of action. Why we took over wastewater works? The reason we took over wastewater works, firstly, we were requested to take over wastewater works. We did not go and bid. This was obviously based on the expertise from our previous experience in uMngeni-Uthukela district municipalities, where we took a number of wastewater works in terms of green drop compliance from poor to excellent, being one of the few in the country to receive such a standard. So that was one of the reasons. So we have expertise in wastewater treatment. So the configuration with the eThekwini wastewater is that we are doing bulk wastewater treatment. We are not doing the reticulation, which means the collection systems all the way to the plants. So we treat what gets to the plant, and we of course send that to the rivers and all the way to the ocean. So in terms of, there was a question specifically about the Northern Wastewater Works. Northern Wastewater Works is far from reaching the green drop standard. You will recall, I think the speaker sounded like they would have seen that there's something happening there. There's a huge rehabilitation project happening in that plant, which is still in progress. As soon as that is complete, we will realize some good effluent results from that plant. It's a very big plant. If we can fix that, most of our problems in the lagoon will be fixed. So because this is a collaboration, we are not going to take credit. That project is being handled by the municipality. We are doing the O&M part of the plan currently, but we are coordinating that project. So we are looking forward to completing that project. What does wall-to-wall coverage mean? The the stakeholders involved in the water value chain, this starts from the river, where water must be abstracted, stored at dams. This is the responsibility of the water and sanitation department. Then water must be conveyed and treated. And then from treatment, it must be stored and then supplied to customers. And then customers must reticulate. So wall to wall, in the high level, we can state that it's sufficient raw water resources that can be abstracted and treated and therefore supplied and reticulated to all citizens of the country. I think this is why we use the basis of whether or not this is a communal type of supply or this is yard connection. This is where you have figures varying from 25, 75, 100 megaliters per capita per day. So this is what wall-to-wall means. It means everyone must receive sustainable water. Of course, through all stakeholders as relevant as they would be. So when we say our universal access plan looks at that, obviously in terms of what we do and what we can do is from the bulk side of things. But the UAP did look at what is required even at the reticulation point to achieve wall-to-wall coverage. I hope this covers the question to some extent. How are we going to navigate the issue of undocumented people coming into cities, especially the city of Durban? A very interesting question. But from an engineering point of view and planning point of view, you look at your recent trends when you're designing your systems and you're planning them. And you put your factor of safety. There's what we call a factor of safety. That needs to be adjusted given the dynamics of the country. We all know that in this country there can be a township erected within a space of 24 hours. So those must be taken into account when we do our planning analysis and studies. But also what we are saying that together with the municipalities, if we can cover, or if you can know, because the definition of non-revenue water, there's a big portion of water that is not known, that we cannot account for. If we can account for all the water, if we can know where all water goes, it will be easy to deal with, be it illegal connections, be it reshuffling in terms of your allocations per capita per day to account for your probably unplanned influx of people. So it will be easy to deal with that. But from the engineering point of view, you increase your design safety measures in line with what would have happened in the previous few years. What uMngeni-Uthukela Water is doing to deal with high water losses. We have various memorandum of understandings with the municipalities because this is not happening in our space. So we need to get access to deal with this, to work in someone else's infrastructure. These memorandum of understandings allow us to work with the municipalities and detail the problems to a level of a business plan, which will assist a municipality to go out for funding, for relevant funding, be it we seek the types of municipal infrastructure grants or whatever the case. In some instances, some municipalities give us access to work with them, and we get funding together and we implement a few projects with them. There is a municipality we are working with currently to deal with a project specifically on non-revenue water. So we do collaborate. If given platform, we even partner financially, and we deal with an infrastructure type of a project. What role did uMngeni-Uthukela Water play in eThekwini wastewater? Obviously, when we engaged, we wanted a long term. No one wants to take care of infrastructure that is not at a desirable state, and you think you're going to revolutionize it within a year. It's definitely not going to happen. So we wanted a much long term, but because of the intricacies in the in how MFMA works, the city needed to embark on Section 32 of FMMA so that we can embark on a much longer contract. But whilst those processes unfold, we needed to contract so that there is a vehicle for us to work. So what we did is that we did not do major capex. So we did operation and maintenance types of projects, which we call rehabilitation, minor rehabilitation types of projects. The whole aim is to stabilize the infrastructure, make sure that everything goes through the plant, not sewage flowing all over and finds its way into the river. You contain it, it goes into the plant. This is why initially you will see in other plants, you will initially not reduce your compliance before it climbs up, because you collect everything and then you deal with the infrastructure inside the plant slowly at a pace of a maintenance type of budget where we are able to resuscitate but not upgrade. So you resuscitate, you contain, and then you improve slowly. We procured proper chemicals. We got highly skilled engineers and scientists working, looking at these plants full time, optimizations of these plants, and we have therefore increased in that way. So it's a combination of human capital expertise and maintenance type of infrastructural projects. And then the last one, the diversion of water from Tonga to Waterloo or Caesar Water. I can confirm that we, on a quarterly basis, uMngeni-Uthukela Water meets with the customers to discuss the contractual components of the bulk supply agreements with all of them. And we supply as per those volumes in the agreements. So we, at this stage, we are not aware of a diversion of supply to Caesar Water away from, I think it says Tonga and Waterloo. So what we supply to eThekwini, it is confirmed by the levels of curtailment which we agreed with the city. The volumes that we supply are as per, one, the bulk supply contracts, two, as per the level of curtailment that we are imparting. I think I will leave it at this stage and other questions will be covered.
I will just touch on the issue of the 13.5% tariff increase and the why, when we've made a surplus of about 2 billion, do we keep increasing tariffs? Probably just to give some context, CEO in his presentation did mention that water board, uMngeni-Uthukela Water, is a Schedule 3B entity, which means we are a government business enterprise. Whilst our shareholder, the Department of Water and Sanitation, gets allocations from Treasury, as well as municipalities, they do get allocations through the DORA equitable share. We do not get any allocation from the fiscus. So any rand of revenue and income we have to generate ourselves. Now, obviously, we are then also guided by our Water Services Act, which drives us to actually have cost-reflective tariff, which means you have to accumulate your costs and then be able to then determine what your tariff is going to be, so that you are then able to then charge that tariff and have a recovery of the services that you are actually given. Now, obviously, I did mention the fact that we do surpluses does not mean that we then come back and share the surpluses, or someone or the shareholder shares the surpluses. The surpluses are there to create reserves for the 15 billion rand capex project. Because if you look at that capex plan, the 15 billion over the 5-year period, we can't go and borrow all of that, because then our ratios will be out of sync. We'll be sinking in debt if we had to go and say the whole 15 billion capex project. So there is a give and take of saying some of this infrastructure is actually funded through these surpluses that we actually get. So you will notice that on our balance sheet, we've got accumulated profits which go up to about 16 billion rands. So some of it is cash back, but some is not cash back because obviously some numbers are just provisions. But that's what we then aim to do, is that you then have that surplus to then go and actually reinvest it into the program. But over and above that, you also have the cost drivers. And the cost drivers are the major, contributors to whatever cost that we incur. We talk of chemicals. We've seen quite a significant jump in pricing with chemicals. I think impacted, one, by the Russia-Ukraine war, where most of the commodities have actually gone up. But with chemicals, I think we've got a few players that are in the space, and we do find that they come on average with increases about 25-28%, to say that's their increase for the year. Now, we can't then say we're going to absorb that as a business, because you have to then, that 28% unfortunately needs to be transferred further so that you can be able to recover the cost. Energy, this is now from Eskom. You remember Eskom, they initially had proposed a 40% tariff increase. I think they ended up being approved for about 15 or 16%. And obviously that's also a major contributor in our cost line items. We also can't say we're going to subsidize that. Unfortunately, when those costs have to be incurred, they are actually contributing to us actually processing each kiloliter of water that has to be there. So what I'm trying to say is that we are very sensitive to affordability, but we can't then do it at a cost of subsidizing those costs. We have to actually pass on some of those costs across. But maybe I'll touch also on the municipalities themselves. And I think it's something that we probably will look at going forward, where you look at the tariff must be looked at from when you start with the raw water tariff to the bulk potable water tariff, and down to what the households end up being actually charged. I think there needs to be a regulator that will look at all of the value chains tariffs, so that we then see if at the end, is it worth it to then pay the amount of money that ends up being paid. Give you an example. We, at the moment, are charging eThekwini 13 rands, I think it's 13 rands 20 for a kiloliter of water. That's 1,000 liters. At the maximum usage, because they've got block tariffs at eThekwini, at their maximum usage, they are charging 60 rands a kiloliter. So they are building a margin of about 40-something rands on what we actually give them. Understood, they've got a reticulation network they need to fund, but probably someone must look at whether it's actually worth that much as a gap. I've looked in their 5-year IDP, because we look at all of those documents to try and make sure that there is some level of alignment. I picked up that on their IDP, their tariff that they've planned, even for the same financial year, is about 14.5%. So we then come in at 13.5%, they then go and add a 14.5% on top of that. So obviously, as I say, there needs to be that alignment, but unfortunately, at the moment, we also have to build a reserve. What we normally do with municipalities, we sit down on tariff. There are some projects, as I said, we are building up a capital expenditure program. There are some projects where we sit down with the municipalities and say, if you want the tariff to reduce, then it means we then don't build this project, because then it means that we have to then subsidize or wait another few years for this project to be built. And obviously they will sit and look at their needs and then say, well, we continue. So it is unfortunate that we sit at a 13.5% tariff increase, but it is driven by the expenditures and the costs that we have to incur. Thank you.
Thank you, media colleagues. Thank you, Executive, for those responses. There was a question that I got from uZainul from the Independent Online. However, I do feel it has been largely partially covered from the responses that we got from the COO and then the CFO. Zainul, are you covered on that one? I note your hand, Sakiseni, for a follow-up, but can we, as well as yourself, Mavuso, but can we take any other questions that might have not come through yet? If not, we can go to yourself, Sakiseni and Umavuso. Remembering, colleagues, that we'll still have one-on-ones, so you need not bog yourselves down too much on asking specific questions, but go ahead. Sakiseni, you can start. Oh, I don't think there's a roving mic. Please just raise your voice for now.
Just want to find out in terms of how much, maybe can you tell us in terms of how much municipalities are owing towards uMngeni-Water, and maybe if you can give us maybe some of the biggest culprits in terms of those municipalities that are not paying the uMngeni-Uthukela water. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Sihle Mavuso again. Just one question. In fact, it's not even a question. Mr. Mazibo, please clarify this. You said the water curtailment in eThekwini has been extended by a year. Is that correct? If yes, what is the reason for that?
I'll start, sorry. So at the moment, we are sitting with a debt of about 2.4 billion rands being owed by municipalities. Of that 2.4 billion, I wouldn't want to call them culprits, but the customers that are sitting with overdue is King Echwayo District Municipality, Uthukela District Municipality, Ugu District Municipality, and uMsondoze Municipality. So those are the four major the customers that are contributing majorly to the 2.4 billion. You do have some other smaller amounts that are outstanding, but those are the major ones that contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO.
Thank you very much. I think just to cover the question in both ways, in case it meant for the wastewater. For the wastewater, we were given a one-year contract, and it has since been extended by a further year. And then for curtailment, the curtailment start date was supposed to be October 2023. But because of the plan of action from eThekwini, which gave sufficient reasons in terms of the interventions implementation, that was submitted for a request to defer it to start only in 2024, October 2024. So that's the year I think you are referring to, Mavuso. Yeah, so it only started, so this was granted. So it only started effectively from October 2024. Izophela end of September 2024. Yes. 25, sorry, 25.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarity, COO, CFO. I do not think there are any questions unless Terence is in my direct line of view, but I don't think there's a hand. So can I thank the executive and the board and the entire board collective, as well as yourselves, members of the media, and we will avail the board members, the board chair in particular, the chief executives for one-on-one interviews. CFO, can I make a special request that you just quickly jump over to East Coast Radio, because they had requested a live interview with yourself. Otherwise, we retain the chairperson, the CE, and the COO. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to our guests as well.